Thank you, Mr McIntosh. Dr Heath.
Thank you. I have no idea what that rant was about. Certainly not much to do with energy. He covered Trump. He covered the Queensland Nationals, I believe. He covered, but I would like to extend my sincere congratulations through the chair to Mr McIntosh on doing his first ever speech in this House without mentioning Kennett. So that is a huge... Oh, sorry, I withdraw. He did mention Kennett. I did mislead the House, so we did mention Kennett. My mistake. I am staggered by this government who, without fail, get up there time after time after time and sprout mistruths. Just complete dishonest lies, to be honest. And I don't know if it's because Mr McIntosh is not in his office and doesn't have staff there most of the time, so the constituents wander around and come to my office and speak to me. But what they are talking about is they are talking about the increase in power bills, how it's going through the roof, and I cannot understand it. Let me just correct a few things. One of the things he said was you've got to follow the economics. Well, the facts are, and I have spoken about this before, that those nations with the highest share of renewables in electricity supply have higher costs. Those nations with the highest shares of wind and solar renewables have the highest cost, and they the highest costs. Those are Germany, the Netherlands, UK and Spain. And those countries with the lowest share of renewables when it comes to wind and solar have the lowest costs. They are Russia, Saudi Arabia, Korea, India and China. Now, so what I'm saying is you can't trust what he says because the facts just don't match up with reality. Now, I am pro-clean energy. I am pro-clean energy. I am pro-renewables. What I am anti is Labor lies and Labor spin. And wind and solar can only be commercially successful when they are in the receipt of a subsidy. And guess who's going to pay for that subsidy? Victorians, because Victorians are already paying the price of the mismanagement of the Labor Party. So I just think it's unbelievable. Ms Watt spoke about energy costs going down. It's just not the reality. Even Mr McIntosh mentioned that. He blamed it, of course, on Ukraine, which was another thing he spoke about in his random contribution. The fact is energy costs are going through the roof in this state. The government is, the people in this state are living through a horrific cost of living crisis, first and foremost caused by the state and federal Labor government's policies, which of course have been exacerbated by your inability to keep crime off work sites in Victoria, by your inability to manage budgets and by your inability to treat taxpayer dollars with a bit of respect. So I just think it's unbelievable. The other thing Mr McIntosh said is he spoke about, now where did I write that down? He just had so many ridiculous things, quite frankly, that he said that he said it's about reducing bills, which they haven't done that, and it's about providing jobs. Well, I'm just going to respond to that one for a minute. Providing jobs, let's just talk about our electorate alone, Mr McIntosh and Minister Singh, of the Eastern Victoria region. You have obliterated jobs in the Eastern Victoria region. What about the 4,000 jobs that were lost from the native timber industry? You've never replaced the 1,000 jobs that were axed with the closure of Hazelwood. So I just think it's time for you potentially to have a look in the mirror, stop reading your propaganda points and maybe start talking to some constituents who you are put there to serve. So I just think that's a few things to just start off with. I wonder if... Oh, Mr. McIntosh, you can't direct a member of what sort of speech they're allowed to give. Surely you'd know that. So your obsession with the coalition continues. You did a rant about, I'd say 14 out of the 15 minutes were about all sorts of bizarre things and not much to do with energy. So it's been a long time since you've been the party of the workers, a very, very long time. I think Labor used to be a pretty good political party. That was a very long time ago. So anyway, today I'm going to speak about the Energy and Land Legislation Amendment Bill. This bill is titled the Energy Safety Bill, but when you examine its contents, it becomes clear the bill does not improve safety at all. It compromises it. The government's claim that it's streamlining governance, that it's improving efficiency and that it's enhancing enforcement, what it's really doing is centralising power, which you actually spoke about saying that's what we were apparently trying to do. Oh, pot kettle black, how about you look in a mirror? That's what you're trying to do, is trying to centralise power, reducing accountability and cutting out the community and expert voices at a time when our state is facing escalating fire danger and increased energy instability. This bill amends the Electricity Safety Act, the Gas Safety Act and the Pipeline Act. It expands the powers of authorised officers, allowing them to enter private property without consent if they deem there's a risk. It abolishes independent advisory committees like the Electric Line Clearance Consultative Committee. Doesn't surprise me that you're getting rid of them. I don't think you should. It reduces Energy Safe Victoria's corporate plan reporting from annually to once every 3 years. Mr Davis spoke about how it's like getting you to correct your own homework. What you're really doing is you're just cutting the work down for yourself. You don't want to consult different people. You're cutting out expert advice and you're making Victoria less safe in the process. What Labor is doing once again, it is tightening that stranglehold that it has on Victorians. Let's remind ourselves, Victoria is one of the most bushfire-prone regions in the world. Black Saturday in 2009 claimed 173 lives. Black Summer in 2019 to 2020, 1.5 million hectares burned and billions of animals were killed. This year, bushfires in Victoria's west burned 65,000 hectares in a single day. Experts from repeated inquiries have repeatedly urged that a comprehensive approach, transparency, independent oversight, regular vegetation clearance and modern infrastructure upgrades. Yet this bill does the opposite. Not surprising. Once again, Labor is doing what it wants to make itself look and feel better, ignoring expert advice, and Victorians will pay the price for that. Let me quote from Energy Victoria's Electric and Gas Network Safety Review. It says, and I quote, "Fires can be caused by electric arcs igniting vegetation, equipment failure or hot molten metal particles from power line contact." This is a serious issue, and it's one that you've just seen. That's not speculation, it's fact. And it's one that you're just turning a blind eye to. And on Black Saturday, 3 major fires were started by ageing electrical infrastructure. Despite knowing this, the government is pursuing massive expansions of high-risk energy assets through large-scale renewables. 10,000 kilometres of transmission lines and poles up to 85 metres tall. So it's not us, Mr McIntosh, through you, Acting President. It is not us who is ripping up farmland. It's not us. We are supporting farmers. We were out there with the hundreds and hundreds of farmers when you were just completely ignoring them. We were out standing shoulder to shoulder with them because you are not doing the right thing by them. There is massive wind turbines and solar farms, often built in ecologically sensitive areas and fire-prone areas. There are gigantic lithium-ion battery sites notorious for fire risk and nearly impossible to extinguish once ignited. And that doesn't include hydropower. All this is being fast-tracked through our landscapes. They're a rowdy bunch, aren't they, over there? They're a rowdy bunch that often don't care about their regions, I think. And all of this has been done with minimal transparency and no independent oversight. Rural communities have been stonewalled. It wasn't just this morning on the steps that the government stonewalled people from rural communities. This has been happening over and over again, and this government has continually trampled over property rights in projects such as the Jilliandale Wind Farm, which has received comprehensive complaints, many of them, and has been considered without proper planning processes being followed due to their reclassification as a significant economic development site. This is industrialisation on a huge scale. So where are the environmental concerns now when we're talking about these things? Native forests are being cleared at an alarming rate, koala habitats are being destroyed, birds are being destroyed or displaced, wildlife corridors are being fragmented, and recovery zones are being erased. All of this from a government who shut down the Vic forest and the native timber industry, citing concerns for biodiversity and fire risk. Yet these large-scale renewable developments are clearing far more land and killing far more native species and has far less scrutiny. What a shame. I'm so sorry. It's lovely to see you in here, Ms. Shing. These technologies are not renewable in any literal sense. The International Renewable Energy Agency estimates 78 million tonnes of solar waste by 2050. That's a lot. According to Harvard Business Review, by 2035, solar waste will outweigh new installations by 2.5 times. Lithium batteries are another fire hazard. One US recycling operator put it like this. They said, and I quote, "There's nothing you can do to put out a lithium-ion battery fire. It has to extinguish itself by consuming all available flammable material." This is a huge risk in our state. This is a huge risk in our state. We are not doing, well, we are actually, we're supporting our CFA, we're supporting our rural communities. The Labor Party certainly are not. They do hate the CFA. They have destroyed the CFA. Not only that, they ignore them. There were hundreds of CFA volunteers out on the steps this morning, and they were given nothing but the cold shoulder by this government. You really have to face up to the facts that you've closed the native timber industry. The people that would be first on site when it came to fires, that would clear the paths, that would go and make sure that there was a reduced fuel load, you shut them down with no plan of what to do next. Imagine a scenario during summer in rural Victoria surrounded by the fuel that we have now with the plan that these guys have got. At the same time, the government has undermined the very strategies proven to reduce fire risk, including vegetation clearances around power lines, regular backburning, which is known to reduce fires by 95%. All of these things have been neglected. Sustainable low-impact clearing methods, there's lots of different ones that you've completely turned a blind eye to. And of course, the closure of the native timber industry, which has removed a huge safety net that we have relied on. We've lost experienced bushworkers, many of whom play a vital role when it comes to bushfire prevention. We've seen the rise of detection and suppression approach, which sounds modern, but it's absolutely reckless. We let fuel loads build up and pretend that we can douse them from the sky. This is absolutely terrible policy, it's lazy policy, and it's out of touch. So in my last 14 seconds, I'll say this. I'm glad that we are... You can move to extend my time if you'd like. But I'm glad that we are opposing these bills. I'm proud to stand with the people of Victoria by opposing Labor's latest bill.
Thank you. Mr